on this. And there we go. And I know we'll have a few people kind of trickling in the interim here. What I am going to say is just a couple reminders here at the beginning of our huddle. If you haven't finished your CE and your renewal for your license is happening this year, please make sure you are watching that, getting that done. Don't leave it to the last minute to get that taken care of. The scrambling around it is just never fun. So please make sure you are watching that. If you have questions around it, please reach out to Jeremy or Francis, and they will absolutely help you with that, navigating through there. My other thought that I just had to share with you guys this morning was on a podcast yesterday. And I'm going to share this and then we're going to turn the floor over to Stewart Title. But I just felt like somebody needed to hear what I need to say this morning. And it was just a really valid point. So I was on a podcast yesterday. They were interviewing me. And I guess I never thought about it from this perspective, but they said I had a really valid point. Every morning I wake up and I know I'm unemployed for that day. So what I think about with that is every day I'm unemployed and I have to go out there and I have to work for what I need to get as a real estate agent. There's no guarantee in this. So even kind of thinking about it this morning, how I set my mind up is I wake up, I have my routine that I do. I write down 5 things I'm grateful for, 10 things that I'm going to make happen. And, Tuesday, I know I've got this huddle call. And then I've got my listing appointment. So it makes me just super eager as a real estate agent to have that mindset that I'm unemployed and I need to go get work. So again, I was on a podcast yesterday. I'll share that with you guys once it comes out. But it was just a crazy, yeah, that's what we do. So we've got a few people who trickled in here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hand the floor over to Stewart Title. We've formed a great partnership with them. So Kathy and Jules are on here. We're going to kind of go over some title stuff, some mishaps and title. But I am going to go ahead and turn it over to them. So welcome, Stewart Title. Kathy and Jules, why don't you guys introduce yourselves and then you have the floor till about 10 o'clock.
Well, thank you, Jill, and thank you everybody for allowing us to share an hour with you from our title perspective. My name is Kathy Schildrup with Stewart Title, and I've been in business development on the residential side of things for 20 years. And even through our crazy industry and market and everything over the years, I still love what I do because I work with the realtors and the loan officers out there that need support for title and closing services. So I love my realtors. I love my loan officers. And that's what keeps me motivated. And to me, adding value to your business is extremely important. So I try to find ways, with me being in business development, to try to find things to help you grow your business. So usually what I do before COVID, I would live out of my car for 20 years. I would just pick a different city each day and visit everybody. Nowadays, after COVID, now everybody's working from home. It's more like scheduling coffee appointments or doing Zooms, or at least the bare minimum. I send once a month. I do an outreach to my loan officers and realtors, just with something that might be relevant, that might help you out, like a checklist or something going on in the industry, or something about lead generation and farming. That's what I can help you with. And then what we'll do is I'll just kind of recap what we're going to talk about. So I'm going to cover lead generation and farming for the first 15 or 20 minutes. And then Julaine Setter, she goes by Jules. She's on the call right now too. And she's a residential senior escrow officer. And she's been doing what she's been doing for 20 years. And trust me, she is amazing. She's nice. She's the person that is going to make a really great difference at the closing table for you. So you get referrals. That's very important in our world, right? And she specializes also in reverse mortgages. So if there's anybody here that specializes with the elder community, or that's almost me, 62 years, I'm 58. Okay. But when I turn 62, it's something we might want to consider, doing a reverse mortgage for refinance, or for also purchasing a home in a different state, like a second home. So she specializes in reverse mortgages. She's absolutely, she's got a vast wealth of knowledge. She's just amazing. So she would be the person that is going to be speaking next on title and closing services and things that she has assisted people with, problem solving to get the deal to the closing table. And then once she's done with that for about 15, 20 minutes, then she's going to go on and recap some of our services that cover Homes for Heroes, interpreter services, and Closing is Anywhere, and then Certified, which is our wire fraud protection. And then it's going to come back to me at the end just to kind of discuss a quick recap on realty safety awareness with Stewart, and just access to our Stewart Now website and in the app through credentials and logins. So we'll try to keep it to the point. And I'm going to let Jules introduce herself right now real quick, and then I'll hop into the lead generation if Jules is ready. I saw her on, and now I don't see her on. Let me see. Oh, she's having an issue with her microphone. Okay, well, maybe what I should do is I'll just kind of head into the lead generation, and we'll see if she can navigate through that. Here she is again. Let's see if she's able to hop on. Well, I'll just start talking about the lead generation, and then when I'm done in about 15 minutes, then hopefully she'll be able to connect with the audio and so forth. So Stewart has 3 resources for lead generation and farming that might come in handy for you. The first one is our Stewart Now. It's our own Stewart cert resource, and you can use that independent of us anytime. So you don't even have to come to me and say, Kathy, can you run a lead list for me? You can do it on your own. And it's very affordable. It's $2.99 for leads up to 1,000. And you can create and save a farm, kind of similar. If anybody's similar to Remind, it's very similar to that service. Oh yeah,
Sorry.
good.
On. I was like, what's happening? I can't get onto this thing.
Yeah. Well, after I do my
Jules, by the way.
Oh yeah, this is Jules. She's our escrow officer in Bloomington, and she's amazing.
I had a bit of a panic attack because I couldn't get my audio and video to work there, so I'm back.
Well, I'll just kind of stroll through my lead generation and farming, and then when I'm done with that, then I'll do an introduction to Jules, and then we should be all set. So the Stewart Now app is something you can put on your smart device, which would be an Apple or an Android device, so a phone or an iPad. And you would need login credentials to get access, and you could go through me for that. And basically, you get your login user ID and password within the same day for sure. So then what you can do is if you had like a just sold down the street or something like that, you could just enter the address and then draw a circle on your phone and create a sphere of people, homeowners. They're all homeowners, and you can save it to your smart device, and it'll stay there for up to 2 years. And the nice thing about it is if you do a mailer the year later, the people in that neighborhood will auto-populate because the app itself updates with the counties every 30 days. So it's very helpful. This app also allows you to print to Avery mailing labels, 5160 Avery mailing labels. So say you have a farm of like 750 people, maybe you don't want to do a mailer to all 750 people. Within that farm, there's something called the hot list, and those are the ones that the algorithm has discovered to be more likely to buy or sell in the next 3 to 6 months. So you would do your mailer or go door knocking for those that like doing that to the hot list within the smart farm. And the hot list would be maybe 75 people. So it's a little bit more marketing efficient with your money. So you could just do a mailer and then to the hot list, and you can use the Avery mailing labels. It prints right to those from your smart device to a printer. So it's very helpful. So basically this resource, you can be used independent from us through a smart device, Apple or Android, focuses only on homeowners in any neighborhood across the whole United States, and does not provide phone or email. And it's most commonly used for mailers and door knocking. So that's the first one, called Stewart Now. Then the second, so then my sales manager and I were talking about the fact that there's so many other algorithms and different types of lead generation that you need out there to find, like renters. What about the renters of the world, right? So he went out and about 5 years ago, he got it approved with our legal department, and it's all RESPA compliant with the Department of Commerce, because we're doing it the correct way and we're charging per list per report. And so basically, I'll just read this so I kind of recap it correctly. Resource number 2, which would be myself or my sales manager, we customize the list for you based on your selected criteria. The cost is $5.98 for this particular resource, and it's broken down by the cost of $2.99 for a processing fee and $2.99 for the report leads up to 1,000 leads. So the total cost for this list for 1,000 leads through this resource is $5.98. And unfortunately, we only accept checks. So that's one little goofy thing. We don't have like a virtual wallet yet, but this resource does not provide phone or email. And once you approve your results, like through me, once we kind of custom a list for you, then the list is completed and we email you 2 attachments. The first attachment is the Excel spreadsheet. So then it's your sphere of people you can put into your own sphere and continue your marketing efforts. And then the other attachment is the invoice. And some realtors and lenders like this for mailers to people with certain interest rates, equity percentage. So some like, for example, some loan officers are like, I want to get to the people that are, 7% or 180% equity, or maybe VA loans. Maybe they're trying to get some FHA or assumable loans. That's very popular. VAs, tons of criteria to choose from. And I do have a generic list that I can email to you anytime for you to look through those criteria so you know what your choices are. But the information is pulled mostly from county records and sale information. So that is basic. I have one realtor that just emails me an address and he says, Kathy, I don't want to spend a lot of money because I'm spending a lot of money on the messaging piece, the marketing piece. So he says, yep, I just want to be billed the $5.98. I'll give you an address. And I want this type of part of the metro. And I want it to be a certain interest rate. And I want it to be a certain loan type. So, I mean, he's got his like strategy down. Then there's a third resource, and this is the most popular one for realtors, I would say, because this one comes with phone and email contact information. So this resource number 3, as a company, Stewart Title, we have to pay more for the service. So we have to charge a little bit more to be RESPA compliant with our legal department. So we customize this list for you. So I work together with you. You tell me the puzzle pieces of the perfect person you want to market to. And then I try to create the list and I come back to you like via email and I say, okay, there were 300 results, do you want to work with me? And we can try to get the list bigger, and we kind of brainstorm and then we end up with the perfect list and then I email it to you. But this resource number 3, it says we customize a list for you based on your selected criteria. The cost for this one is $27.99. So the cost is $2.99 for a processing fee plus a $25 fee for the report up to 1,000 leads. So $27.99. And this resource offers phone contact information scrubbed against the do not call list and email contact information. But here's the tricky thing. Not everything comes with, not 100% come with phone and email, but I can work with you to try to get more results with that contact information. On average, if you just did a generic list without trying to tweak the system, you'd on average only get about 12% with results that come back with phone scrubbed against the do not call. So that's not too much, 12%. And that includes landlines and cell. And then roughly about 40% come back with email. But the larger and broader we make the list, the more come back with contact information. And then we can take the most with the phone or email, whatever your preference is. Because some realtors they're like, I want to call everybody. And some realtors are like, no, I want to email everybody. Some people are like, I want to text. So they use it for whatever the preference is, but whatever that is, I can try to get you the most of whatever your preference is. So I work with you to create the list that works best for you. Once you approve your results, the list is completed and we email you the 2 attachments. One is the Excel spreadsheet with, like, say you got a list of 1,000, then you'd have all these columns of information, just tons of columns. And then the other one would be an invoice. And realtors and lenders like this for marketing via phone, email, text, mailers, door knocking. Common searches can include up to, for example, 25 zip codes is a max you can put in for a list up to 1,000. So, and then, so you would provide me like 25 different zip codes if you wanted to like maximize your list. And then people with credit score ranges. So it seems kind of creepy, all the things that we have access to, but I guess that's the world we live in and we use it professionally. So it's like, it's all for a good thing here, but the credit score ranges. So like sometimes, you know, you want to help people with less than better credit, but maybe right now, if you're really needing to focus in on people that can do what you need them to do, maybe then you start with whatever credit score range you think is going to get the deal done, like maybe 650 and higher or something like that. But there are credit score ranges you can choose from to get to those types of people with different credit score ranges. Same with income ranges. Like if you want to go for people that make a minimum of 70,000 and higher, you can tell me that kind of information. You can focus on homeowners or you can focus on renters. And we always will check a box that says head of household, because we don't want you to get to like somebody that lives in the house that might be a kid. So we always check the box head of household. So you're not calling the cell phone of a 15-year-old. Length of residence, we can put length of residence in there. There's as well, there's a criteria list for this resource also. So if you were interested in this one that comes with phone number and email, I can email you that criteria list so you can see your choices. But it's amazing because we can search for ethnicity, language, Spanish. So if your sphere is a Spanish speaking sphere, we can also check that box, and then you're going to get a list of people that meet that criteria. So it's really cool. And then ultimately we do have the interpreter services at Stewart. So we don't charge to have representation at the closing table. So we can cover your multilingual needs for that. But Jules is going to talk more about that. But anyway, this last resource that I'm talking about, it's mostly opt-in information. So you think about that, like say you're applying for like an American Express card and they're like, okay, what is your annual income? What is your, and they can look up the credit score range right then and there when you're applying for the credit card. But a lot of this information, it's a very credible system and it's been around for years. And so we've heard very good feedback from people that have called these leads. I think with any list that you do, there's going to be always like a 10% bummer ratio where there might be some errors, but we've had a lot of feedback, and it's really hard to track though too, because one person might say, okay, I ordered a list for $27.99, 1,000 leads, ones with come with phone and email, and nobody answered their phone. Well, you got to just keep trying, right? In sales, it takes like at least 7 attempts to earn trust and credibility or get through to anybody, especially nowadays. But I think it's all in your messaging and how you kind of differentiate it up. Maybe you try a mailer one day, maybe you try texting one day, maybe you try phone call or email, just change it up a bit. You might get better results. But some popular criteria selections for this option 3. So up to 25 zip codes, confirmed homeowner, head of household, renters, and that can be house renters, apartment renters, or condo renters. Minimum income ranges, like 50 to 54,999 or 60 to 64,999. And I can just enter in whatever you want. Credit score ranges, like I mentioned, family position, grandmother, husband, male head of household, wife, female head of household. There's a lot of different things, language, race, age. I have an example of a reverse mortgage lender who decided she wanted to go after all the 61-year-olds out there in the metro. And she gave me 25 zip codes. And she said they qualify for reverse lending at age 62 and older, but she goes, I want to get them at 61 before they make their mind up of what they're going to do. So we had like just literally thousands of 61-year-olds that came up in this, zip codes up to 25 zip codes. And so her strategy though was not all of them came with phone numbers. So she said, just give me the top 1,000 that all have phone numbers. And she chose landlines for those too. So she had a combination because, depending on your age, some people still use landlines, but a lot of people use cell nowadays too. So anyway, she was able to successfully get her list of 1,000, and they all had contact information. So that's like what I'm saying. If you cast a broader net, you're going to get more with contact information. So that kind of is an overview of the lead generation and farming. And you'll have questions probably at the end, but maybe I'm going to pass that on over to Jules now to keep us on track. And she's going to discuss the title and closing examples of title issues and problem solving to get the deal to the closing table. And Jules is a delight to work with. She is the person you will see ultimately at the closing table with your clients, and she is just a dream. I ask her any question, she immediately knows the answer. She's so smart at what she does, and she's nice and she's friendly. And that's what you want. You want somebody like her at the closing table. And Jules, why don't you give a little background of your experience?
Oh, Kathy, no, I'm blushing. So I'm going into my 21st year of doing this. So I've seen a lot of stuff. And I just wanted to piggyback on Kathy's point with the reverse mortgage as well. That in case you guys, if there's people out there that don't know, that reverse mortgage has a program for purchase as well. So, if you're looking at people like you're trying to find a little bit of inventory, perhaps, because, a lot of people are sitting in their houses now. They've been in their houses for like 40 years. And, they're like, well, I really want to move to that senior community, but I can't afford it. My house is worth 300 and the thing I want to buy is 450. They do have a program and a product that they can actually use a reverse mortgage to buy houses as well. So we've got some people that have actually searched through the ways that Kathy is talking about for that kind of area where one of the reasons that the gal she was talking about wanted to find those people that were 62 was because she was thinking they may want to downsize, but they're just thinking, I'm going to have a mortgage. Then reverse mortgage is something where they don't have a payment. So that's another story. But yeah, going into my 21st year of doing this, and wanted to talk a little bit about some of the issues that we can run into with title. Biggest ones, of course, are loans and liens. So just to back up a little bit for people that I find that people don't really understand title. Like, what are we? What do we do? Like, why are we here? What is the point? And I think the best way to think about it is that the title commitment is kind of like a credit report for your house. So all of the stuff that, any kind of loans or liens on your standard credit report, if you look up your credit report, anything that you owe money for is going to be on that. Well, a title commitment is going to bring up anything that is owed by the house or against the house, and also potentially against the owners, because what people kind of don't understand, and one of the problems that we get into that we have to clear, and Julie will speak to this, because Julie and I had a closing, and with a little gal that had quite a lot of problems with federal tax liens and judgments and a personal judgment, and it was a whole thing. It took us about 4 months to get it to the finish line, but we did finally get it to the finish line, which was awesome. But just so that you're aware that if there are judgments or tax liens against your sellers, when that's one of the questions that you want to ask when you're doing your initial, talking to them about their property, and you're, with the representation. And the other things that you ask them is, do you have any judgments, federal or state tax liens? Because those will, generally speaking, need to be paid at closing. So if you're on the bubble, if they have a lot of, like they've got a high mortgage, say a high federal tax lien, one of the things that we do is we can direct your sellers towards who could they talk to potentially lower like a federal tax debt, which I think is one of the things that happened with Julie's closing, that we had to go in and have the property owner talk to some of these people about potentially lowering like a tax debt to make it work for the purchase price. So talking about those liens, because that is a big thing. People don't understand that tax liens and that sort of thing are going to be things that need to be paid. But vis-a-vis your clients, the way that tax liens and judgments show up, I don't know if you can see this, but I'm going to try to see if you guys can see it. and I'm not sure if you can read it, but this is a title commitment page that does have some tax liens, that sort of information on it. Back in the day, back when I started, or right shortly before I started, when they placed like judgments, tax liens, that sort of thing, they'd be placed against the people's social security numbers. But unfortunately, property records are all public record. So of course that doesn't happen anymore. So this particular couple, his name is Michael Johnson. So when we go in and we search tax liens and judgments, we search them against the name. And so that's one of the things that you want to tell your people if you have a seller and we contact them because we see that Michael Johnson has a federal tax lien and he's got like these other things. There is someone named Michael Johnson that does. We're going to contact your people. So just let them know, because that's a panic point for a lot of people. And for people that have, never owed that kind of thing or have like really good credit, it's something that can kind of throw them off and panic them. Like, why do people think that I owe this? They don't. So there's a couple of things that we ask. And if it's not our Michael Johnson, which in this case it's not, we have a little note here. My assistant Sonia, who I've worked with for 10 million years as well, so she's a good resource also, has written an affidavit of non-ID. So that's the way that we would actually handle that particular thing. We will ask the people, we'll get some information. Most of the time, those things do not carry an address. So any Michael Johnson that's really in the 7-county metro is pretty much going to show up on one of these lists. And then your seller just signs a thing if it's not them, affidavit of non-identification, something that gets filed or held in file. And then they don't need to worry about it after that. Going forward, that's the way that we're going to handle that. If it is them, then of course we're going to need some payoffs. We're going to need some information from them. And if it is a large amount, there are resources that they can go to work with, like the IRS or whatever, to maybe lower that tax debt. Particularly if you tell them, I'm selling the house, but I'm not going to get nearly enough money to actually pay that. And we've had some pretty good results with that. That's one of the easier things that we deal with, that we find that comes up on title. More things that show up on your credit report for your house. Because just like a credit report, nothing against the house ever goes away, right? If you look at your credit report, that loan that you had just right out of college for your first car, it still will show up in there somewhere. It doesn't go away, but there's actually a notation from the bank that says paid, closed, something like that. So your loan officer looks at it and says, oh, well, we don't need to consider that because there's something that says that it's paid and closed. Title is very much like that. What that is called in our world is a satisfaction of mortgage or release of lien. So when our searchers go out, and sometimes people say, why does it take so long to get title done? Normally we can turn it within 48 hours or sometimes quicker, but there's the question of why potentially would it take that long? And the reason is because there is actually the laundry list of everything, kind of like your credit report where it goes back however long, all of the things, all of the mortgages, all of the transfers of title are going to show up on there. And then literally our searchers take, okay, here's a release of mortgage. So they have this pile of papers here and this pile of papers here, and they match up the numbers. This one releases this one releases this one. So technically it never goes away, but there's a document that says it's paid and closed. So that's where sometimes we get into problems or your title has a problem because those documents that say that it's paid and closed aren't there. So that is something that we as title company, that's what we do. That's what we're calling clear title. We're looking at it and it says that, okay, Michael Johnson here, they had a mortgage from 10 years ago and they had a subsequent mortgage. So as title people, that shows us that probably is gone, but we're going to need to contact someone and get a release of mortgage or a release of lien, because otherwise it just hangs out there and people don't know. Was it paid? Is it still a lien on the property? What is the status of it? Some of the harder things that we deal with are when those things end up being things from years and years and years ago. So one thing about Minnesota, state of Minnesota, no longer requires abstracts. That's the Minnesota Area Realtor Purchase Agreement changed about 15 years ago or so. And so an abstract doesn't need to be given to the new buyer anymore. So it's all kind of a virtual thing. As title companies, we usually go back 45 years when they do the search. And the reason for that is that the longest mortgage that is recorded is 30 years. And there's a state statute that says anything that is farther back than half of that, which would be 15 years, is something that doesn't really need to be considered, which is great, except that in Minnesota, we also have torrens and abstract properties. That works great with abstract. We just go, okay, that's from 1972 or something. That's not a problem. Torrens, however, is a registered property. So that is something where all of those things that are still active or considered active are on your certificate of title. Every owner has an individual certificate of title number. So you don't have the laundry list like you have in an abstract. You have an individual certificate of title number. And anything that's on that certificate needs to be cleared if you're going to pass that to the next person, because what's going to happen at the county, that's going to get passed forward. The county's going to issue a new number that's specific to that new owner. So that number and that owner, they go together. And once that is transferred, that number no longer exists. So all of those things need to be cleared. They do not, in the Torrens department, accept the 15-year rule. They go, yeah, that's the state statute, but we still need a document. So that is one of the harder things that we as title companies run into, because we go, well, this is from like literally 1982. Why do we need that? Well, it's because Torrens, you either have to have that document or you have to go through a process and have what they call an examiner's directive to clear that. So that's one of the biggest reasons that choosing your title company is super important. So kind of a long way around the horn about that, because, and I'd love to work for all of you guys. Clearly, I love you guys. One of my favorite groups to work with, but no matter who you choose, just make sure that you're choosing a title company that's going to clear things. Because some title companies just go, yeah, we know that that's not a real lien anymore. And they do what they call insuring over it. They just go, we understand it's not a risk to us as the title insurer. We're just going to insure over it. It's not a big deal. It's an old lien. But then 2 years from now, your people that you told that house is going to be too small for you, they come back to Jill and they say, Jill, you know what? You were right. 2 years ago, we got, we got stars in our eyes because of the, new appliances and the redone kitchen. And we should have listened to you. This 2-bedroom is not big enough. So now we're going forward. Y'all know it. You've seen it. Stars in their eyes about the lipstick on the house and not looking at what they really need. So 2 years from now, they go, okay, we're going to have to move forward and buy a new, bigger house. Well, if the title company didn't clear something that was on that title, your people come back to you when they get their new title report, when they go to sell that house, and there's a problem because that lien is still out there. And they go, wasn't this fixed? I thought that I had all of this when I closed. And then it goes back to okay, well, now we have to have a letter from the title company that says that there's no problem with it. And you just keep kicking the problem forward. So what we, as Stewart Title, we like to make sure that things get cleared instead of it's called a letter of indemnity. It's kind of a get out of jail free card for a title company. Yep, we close that one. We indemnify you, the new title company, that's not going to be a problem. Sometimes it is a problem. Some title companies won't accept that. And either way, it's just, you want repeat business. I mean, that's your business, right? That is the meat of your business is referrals and repeat business. It doesn't really look good if it's like, oh, your title company didn't clear that. And now it's a big panic. And then, we have to get all this other back paperwork and all of that stuff. So just make sure you're working with somebody that's actually going to clear things out and get things done, because these problems don't get any smaller. They just keep it's the farther along the line you kick the can, the bigger the problem ends up being. The other big thing that we deal with and how we have to actually get it cleared is if there's been a divorce or a death on the property. Divorce, there's some documentation. There's newer documentation at the county. I won't bore you with all of that, but there are occasions where we do have to get a quitclaim deed from the prior spouse. Super fun. Sometimes the people are fine and they have kids and they're good. Sometimes they're not. And Minnesota it's not a community property state, but it's what we call like a spousal rights state. That's your 1 to buy, 2 to sell or refi. So if that person is remarried, their spouse also has to sign that quitclaim deed. So yeah, that's we have gone and talked to some salty people about they need to sign this quitclaim deed because their divorce decree said that they would have that, and older divorce decrees don't kind of function the same way that newer ones. There's some new stuff going on there. We get into some of those older decrees, and it's like 10 years ago, kind of awkward. But we're willing to dive on that grenade and go talk to them if the people don't want to. We'll just say, hey, just give me some contact information. And most of the time, once you actually explain the whole situation and explain to them that not only are they still on title on this property, which some people can see as a positive, like, oh, I'm going to get money for it. Well, your decree says you're not. It could be a liability too, because now a lot of mortgage companies are looking at former properties. If you still show as an owner on that property, they're going to think that you do have some sort of potential liability and wonder why it wasn't cleared. And it can cause problems with, for the other people with loans going forward. So that's kind of the way we approach that. We just say, yeah, you might see it as potentially it's an asset. It's really not, because the judge said that it's not, but it can be a potential liability for you. Like if those taxes aren't paid, you're still on title on that. That's a delinquent real estate tax that's going to be pinned on you as well. And so most of the time, if we approach it that way, that, they're pretty reasonable to go, oh yeah, we don't really want to be stuck with something that, and usually if there's a salty situation going on, sometimes they'll go, oh yeah, my ex isn't responsible. So that's not a good thing. Maybe we should just get that done. So that's some of the things that we have to do. If there's been a death, that is sometimes a little bit of a harder situation, because if they were not joint tenants on a property, you could potentially be looking at a probate situation. So that's where you'd want to, once again, when you're talking to your sellers initially, that's why that's a good question to ask. Were you on title with anyone else? What's the situation with that person? Are you divorced? Or is there, whatever, how it is. Sometimes you have to ask some kind of hard questions that people maybe don't want to really delve into, but it's all going to come out in your title commitment, because that's going to tell us who was on title. And even if the person says, well, I bought that house, then I got married, then I got divorced, they don't have any interest, whatever. Well, they did a mortgage in the middle there. And that's how we know that there was a spouse, because on the mortgage, 1 to buy, 2 to sell or refi, the spouse had to sign on that mortgage. So then we go, okay, what happened to Brandy? Like, where's Brandy in this mix? Because we see that there was a mortgage with you and a Brandy. How did that happen? What's going on? Well, then they go, yeah, well, we got divorced, kind of thing. So super important that you ask that question, because that is one of the more difficult things sometimes that we have to actually clear up if there's been an older divorce or that sort of thing. And then there's always the weird random stuff where, because Minnesota doesn't, because of the 45-year situation, the majority of title companies do not go past that 45-year mark, because it's kind of not as important. So once again, owner's policy, your people need the owner's policy, because that will actually cover any of that kind of thing. If there is something, I did have one probably like a year ago, where for whatever reason they had to go back, the buyer side title company had to go back before that. And it turned out that when the builder did the original build, he started a second edition, but somehow the first 5 properties, the legal description still said it was the first edition, not the second edition, but it was actually the second edition. It went back 52 years. And it was like, oh boy, now we gotta fix that. And that involved a whole lot of stuff back and forth with the county and paperwork and filing and stuff. Worst case scenario, when you get into some of these things, we try not to ever get in a situation where we have to tell people that they're going to need a real estate attorney. And there's only been a couple of times that I've actually had to go to that point. And it was because the title company they closed with never made sure that a letter got to the bank about most equity or credit lines need a signature to close at the bank. They were never closed at the bank. So I had 3, and you know how it is when you have a little group of somebody wants a weird property, and then you're like, oh, now the next person wants a similar weird property. It's kind of, they go in little clumps. I had a little clump, it's been probably 6 years ago, where the new owner, there was still a lien on the property from a former owner, and it turned out that those were still active credit lines that were still being used. And two of them were smaller banks, and they're like, we said, well, that's not the borrower anymore, or that's not the owner. They sold the property, and they're like, oh my gosh, we'll send you a release of mortgage. We'll deal with them. One of them was a bigger bank. It had a $69,000 or right around $70,000 balance on that equity line. And they said, no, we're not going to release that loan unless and until it's paid. And we said, how can you do that? It was actually two owners back. Same title company did the transactions in that interim. And they said, it doesn't matter. We have a lien on that property. And so that was actually when the rates had come down. This has been, some years back, and the rates had come down a bit, and the people wanted to refi. It was kind of a refi boom. And we had to tell them, I'm sorry, you're going to have to get a real estate attorney because they're not going to release this. And you cannot refinance this property while that's still on there. You have some other people have a lien on your property, and we can't help you. So you're going to need an attorney. So we hope it doesn't get to that point. And once again, it's only been twice, and it's been prior liens that were not released. And the bank said, nope, we're not going to release them. They do have balances. So we're going to need that. The other case where we would have to refer to an attorney of some sort is a probate situation. If one of the owners has passed away, they weren't joint tenants, that's going to trigger a probate situation. But that's why, once again, it's really important for you guys to ask the question, who else was on title? What happened to that person? So that we as title company people can look at it right away and go, oh, okay, they were joint tenants. There's a couple of documents. They'll need to provide some, death certificate, and we have an affidavit that they can sign, and life is good. If that's not the case, then there's going to need to be a probate situation. So yeah, I've nattered on a little bit about our little world here in the title company. Any questions? Anybody can just reach out or give me a shout here. Kathy,
Jules?
Yes.
Yeah, Jules, can you just recap the difference between an owner's policy and just for anybody that might not know?
Okay.
And what the average cost is, and it's a one-time fee, and it's the smartest thing you can ever. Some of my loan officers say that it's like your first hour of working with an attorney. That's the price.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So, usually on a purchase, there's an owner's policy and a lender's policy. It basically what it is, it's insurance. Like any insurance, kind of a necessary evil in my mind. The old school, back when I first started, a lot of people, like loan officers, would tell their people, you don't need an owner's policy. There's a lender's policy. That will fix anything. That's not true. The lender's policy covers the lender up to the purchase price of the house, or the loan amount of the house that you put on it. Owner's policy covers your buyers up to the full purchase price of the house. I don't know that we've ever seen a full reversion of title. That's when that would be the full purchase price. Like if for some reason there was something that somebody came with a claim and said, and it was found that, say there was a probate done and they didn't disclose that they had the black sheep brother was never disclosed. So he never knew, and he comes back 5 years later and goes, hey, I'm one of the kids I should have inherited. Those are the kind of things you worry about because, you hate to say it, but you can't really, trust that everybody's going to say what's going on. But the owner's policy, Minnesota now has what they call a simultaneous issue. So usually the owner's policies run, depending, on the house, a couple $100 up to, $600-700 sometimes maybe. Usually the closer your loan amount is to your purchase price, the less your owner's policy is going to cost you. It's kind of it's a scale. I won't bore you with it, but the lender is only going to use their lender's title policy if it goes into a foreclosure. That's when they're going to call the title company and try to do a claim. And then we as the title company have to defend ourselves and say, nope, everything was properly done. It's a whole thing. It goes back and forth between the lender and the title company. But because it's insurance, like any insurance, people will say, well, my lender's policy should cover that. And I'm going to call, well, you as the owner, even though you had to pay for that lender's policy, cannot call the title company and say, I need to use my lender's policy. The reason for that is it doesn't belong to you. It's in the lender's name. So it's like any insurance where you can't call your neighbor's insurance company and go, hey, I need to make a claim on this insurance, his insurance. You can't insure something you don't own. And so you don't own that lender's policy. So you can't use that lender's policy to fix anything that would come up. Things that come up.
Oh, yeah.
What's that?
Can I give an example?
Mhm.
Okay, so like, you know how you might have a buyer and they want to buy this brand new construction home, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, nobody's lived here before. I don't need an owner's policy because nobody's lived here. Wrong. Because the problem with that is you might have a contractor that says, I never got paid on my roofing job. And so the person moves in, that contractor has like a certain like 30 days, I don't know what the time range is, but they can file a claim for not getting paid by the general contractor. So they can tag on like $5,000 all of a sudden, right, on this house. And so then say 10 years goes by and your customers refinance their home. If they never bought owner's insurance, this $5,000 lien is going to be sitting out there and they have to pay it off. So that's the hard facts, the hard realities. And so it's kind of like just get it done and over with. Pay that one-time owner's fee of $300 to $600 and just be
We
done.
see it too a lot with potentially property line things. The neighbor's garage is like 2 feet over, nobody knows because Minnesota doesn't require a survey to transfer title. We only require plat maps. And sometimes, the lines aren't quite as easy to find. And now all of a sudden the neighbor's got a fence that's on your yard. The neighbor's got, a garage at the corner of the garage is on your yard. There's a dispute about it, things like that. The neighbor tries to do what they call a quiet title to take those 2 feet of your property because they say my garage has been on it for 100 years. That's where your owner's policy comes into play. And you contact the title company, go, hey, we have a problem here. We take it from there at that point. Once again, to your point, billable hours, realistically, how much is billable? $350 is, average billable hours. How many billable hours just to settle something like this is it going to cost you? Because at that point, if you don't have an owner's policy, you are on your own. And you got to call an attorney. That's one billable hour right there, just talking to him on the phone. So super important. Side note about the plat maps. Title companies do plat maps. That's what we do instead of the surveys. We have, they look at the county, the information of the county. But just so you guys know, for your sellers, something you might want to tell your sellers, there will be someone that will come out to the house. They don't need to be there. The people don't need to be there. They're going to walk the property lines. They're going to jot down on their notepad what they see, which is where sometimes you'll see, okay, there's a shed that's on the neighbor. There's a fence that's on the property line. There's a whatever. They then draw this map, and anything that's like that, any things that they see that might potentially be an issue, they will put on that map. So your sellers might freak out because they say, well, there's somebody out there walking around and I don't know what's going on and blah, blah, blah. You're going to want to let them know that that's probably, if there's a mortgage, most mortgage companies are going to require that plat map. There will be someone that will come out. They don't, like I said, the people don't need to be there. The sellers don't need to be there. They're not going to approach the sellers. They're just going to walk the property and mark down if they can find stakes, for the property lines, whatever they can find. And they're going to draw us a little map that shows where the house is, where the, where the property lines are. Kind of, it's not like a survey. They don't go out there and measure and bring the transom out and do all that stuff. So that's another reason that title insurance is important, because it's things happen that are mistakes. There was something in Burnsville, actually, the old golf course that's right on County 5. Going out there, it had a driving range across the way, and then it had the actual golf course. It was sold. And one of the things that the city said was that the minimum lots have to be 1 acre. That was one of the things, because people were mad that they were mowing down the golf course. And the people back up the hill, because the golf course was down in the valley, back up the hill that had houses from the 50s, came home one day and there was a company ripping down their fences. And they were like, what are you doing? Oh, these are on this other property. And they're like, no, it's not. Ripped down everybody's fences. It was a whole thing. It turned out that the builder's platting was wrong. And so by however many feet, by like 10 feet. And so they ripped down everybody's fences. There were probably like 5 houses there. All the fences went down, and then they had to put the fences back up. But it turned out that what the people thought they were buying was not actually an acre either, because it actually was, short of that. So that's stuff that, had the fence issue not shown up, down the road, they go to do something, get a permit or something. Then it's like, wait a minute, you don't actually own that piece. Then you get into like, okay, now we have an issue. Now we have something that we might need a real estate attorney to get involved in. So anyway, that is my story about your title insurance.
Yeah. So you can clearly see that Jules is, she knows a lot. And so if you ever have title scenarios that you'd like to run by her, always feel free to reach her. And
Enough to bore you on a Zoom call for sure.
yeah, the nice thing is about our escrow teams at Stewart Title, like, because I know some of you work with a different escrow officer than Jules, but a lot of you work with Jules, and she has an assistant. So each escrow officer, like Jules, they have an assistant, and Sonia happens to be hers. So if Jules is ever in a closing, you're going to get Sonia, and Sonia is amazing too. So it's nice because you get one or the other, right? And if you ever need, to reach out and say, oh, Kathy, I just have a quick question, you can reach out to me too. Even though I'm in business development and I help you with lead generation and farming, I also help you with, if you need to get a hold of somebody at the office, you can always reach out to me. You can text me or call me or email me. But the other thing,
particularly if you don't have like our office phone number, we have Kathy, because she's the
there you
person
go.
who works on your farming thing. You're like, I don't know, and I need this. I'm in a panic, and you just
I will help you.
Kathy,
I will help you.
me. What's
I will do
happening?
my best to help you.
I don't know what's happening.
But I can also help people if you want to get access to our website, stewartnow.com. You come through me, and I set you up so you get a user ID and password so that you can go to your desktop, your computer, type in stewartnow.com, and you can see all your files with Stewart Title lifetime 24/7, like a pizza tracker. You can run some reports that are really cool. You get 500 a month at no charge. They're called property profile reports. Basically, you enter in any address in the whole United States and you get a report. You can email it to yourself, to anybody you want. And it's really nice for listing appointments because you can see who lives in the house, Joe and Mary Smith. And you can compare. It's a lot of stuff you already have through MLS, so you don't need it. But when you get down to the transaction history, that's really the cool part because you can see every transaction that's happened on that property. And you can also click the links and then you can see the recorded mortgages. So that's a really cool thing. I can help you with that anytime. But before we run out of time, we have about, 8 minutes left, I think. I will just let you know about the Stewart Now thing, which I just did, the credentials. We also you can come to me if you want videos and tips on the Beverly Carter Foundation, who we partnered with, Stewart Title. I don't know how many years ago, but tragic story of a realtor that lived out of state who died. She was at it was a bad situation, but she was being a realtor doing her thing. She was taking all the safety precautions, but now it's her son's cause to put the spotlight on her.
He is amazing. He's amazing.
Yeah. Teach realtors how to really take extra steps to protect yourselves. So Stewart Title, we care about you too. So it shows because they designed a website that provides a lot of safety awareness stuff. So I can help you with that. But then Jules, she can answer any questions you want regarding Homes for Heroes, $100 off the closing fee, teachers, nurses, medical profession, firefighters, police, you name it. If you have a client that's Homes for Hero, military, you just let Jules and Sonia know to take $100 off the closing fee. It's not a huge amount. Some title companies do more. Some other title companies do more. But hey, it's better than nothing.
Well, our fees are actually less than most title companies though. So, we haven't increased our fees for 10 years probably now, and we don't do the doc prep fee for your sellers. We don't charge that. We don't charge to courier their documents. It's $4.95 for a seller and then $3.95 if it's Homes for Heroes for everything we do for them. So we're not going to ding them for like the $150 doc prep and all of that stuff that we're now seeing that's popping up. And one other quick thing I wanted to talk about before we end is Certified, which is our secured portal for wire instructions and wiring money in and out. You may have heard us talk about it before, but it's a great portal. It's really, really easy. The people have a very good success with it. It's not hard for them to use. They can send us their wire information so we can wire their proceeds out. We run all of our payoffs through there as well because wire fraud is one of the biggest industries now for thieves is wire fraud. It's multi-billion dollars a year. And the Certified doesn't cost the borrowers anything, your sellers anything. But they have a secured portal. So your buyers have a secured portal if they want to wire their funds to us. we'll send them through a secured portal, the wiring instructions, and then we will also get those from your sellers as well, so that we know that their money's not going to go anywhere. If someone does hack into the certified system, certified actually insures that money up to $1 million. So the money comes to your buyers or sellers or whoever it is that's getting the money. The money goes to them. Certified takes care of it on the back end. They front the money, and then it's seamless for your sellers. It's something that they deal with on the back end.
Really important, and I'm so proud that we have
Really,
that.
really important.
We were the first underwriter nationwide to go out and get that relationship, because they say 1 in 3 transactions out there are attempted wire fraud. And in 2022, just in general, it was 3 billion in wire fraud, and they project by 2025 it's going to be 7 billion. And for real estate takes up 40% of that pie, so it's huge.
Just want to circle back to Beverly Carter really quick. Please go on, look at that information.
Can't forget about the interpreter, so we got to make sure to touch base on the interpreter.
We have interpreters for like 100 different languages and sign
300,
language.
300 languages.
300 and sign language. We might need like a 72-hour lead time on some of the less used ones for them to get something. But we do have a company that we work with. They also have sign language.
Yes.
But Beverly Carter, just wanted very important, saw her son. He came and did a presentation for us some years back. Very sad story. Important for you guys too. I know that you think that, that's only like a female agent thing. Super important for you guys too, because it doesn't matter who you are. If you're there and you haven't taken the safety precautions, anybody that's got a weapon of any kind, it doesn't matter. You're a man, you're a woman, it doesn't matter. You could get into a bad situation. So he's got some really great stuff on there. Super important because we want you guys to be safe.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, I really am grateful. Jules, we're both grateful, and our other escrow officers that work with some of your team, we're all very grateful. And we'll never be that pushy title company. We're about relationships and making sure we support you, and that if you do use us, that you're happy about using us. So reach out to us anytime. We're super grateful. And thank you to Jill.
If it's not my file, if you just have a question, you're like, you're not the title company, but I just have this question because I'm not getting a good answer from my title company. It wouldn't be the first time that somebody called and said, it's not your file. I used to have one loan officer that would do that to me all the time. Jules, I know you're not closing this, but blah, blah, blah. I'm like, all right, here's what you need to do. Whatever. I'm not, it's fine. It's fine if you have a question, just even a quick question you don't know the answer to and you can't get a hold of anybody. I can give you certainly my 2 cents worth on it, and the way that your title company is probably going to want to handle it. So
yeah.
We're always here for people.
I want to thank you guys so much for all the information. It's always you always learn something when we have you guys on, and I'm always just amazed at what you see on a daily basis. What I will tell you guys is, if you have not already, we did do a lunch and learn with Stewart Title, and we can absolutely do it again. We had a very good turnout from that. What I will tell you from my personal experience, with the lead gen, I actually had Kathy do a couple different lists for me on smaller communities in my area. And, she sent it to me. I think I paid, I don't even remember what I paid Kathy. It wasn't that much. I know that.
Yeah.
I got 3 leads from that list. And basically what that was me mailing out postcards initially, and then following up with a phone call, following up a text. And I've gotten 3 listings from that. So to me, that paid for itself over and over again already. So if I'm telling agents, if you need a lead gen source, if you need something where you're feeling like you need help, you need to reach out to Stewart Title, and they will absolutely help you with this. And where we are in the industry right now, you can use all of those tools that we can get. So definitely do that. I've had great experiences with Stewart Title. So used them a few different times. I'm using them right now for a transaction of my own. So definitely make sure you reach out, and we will connect, Kathy and Jules, and we will try and get another lunch and learn set up for sure. Does anybody on here have any questions for these guys? We've got probably just a couple minutes if there's any questions for them.
I do. This is Lynn Condos, and I wanted to stress that I would like to see maybe a lunch and learn or a company workshop or something regarding the safety issue. The materials that Stewart Title has provided for that, Kathy and I discussed, and it really, really is important. Oldies with goodies are used to doing lots of open houses in the past, one on Saturday and two on Sunday. But I'll tell you what, today, if you do it alone, you are a fool. You really need to have somebody else there. Some of the things that I learned from watching the videos that Stewart provided were incredible. And I'd really like to see, I was hoping that by now that we would even have a date and time set up for doing that. That's a whole topic on its own, and it's really important. So thank you, Stewart. I appreciate you coming, and I hope that we can get something put together with Jill to really be. I'll mute myself now.
Happy to do that.
All right. Any other questions?
Yes, hi, Kathy. I
Hi.
have a question. What
Yeah.
if I don't know who to like lead gen towards? Would you be able to like kind of narrow it down and help me somehow?
Yes, absolutely. You and I can do a Zoom on our own, and I can listen to you, like who it is like that would be a target market for you, that like what part of the metro, if it's first time home buyers, or if it's downsizers, or if it's both, you know, listing side by side, whatever your preferences are, or things that come to mind. I'll take little notes, and then I'll take some of those ideas. And even if I do some time and spend time with you and you don't like what you get, I'm never going to pressure you to buy a list ever.
Okay, that's
So you can
awesome.
just,
I'll contact
yeah,
you soon.
you can go, you know,
Kathy's really
change
good
my
about
mind.
that.
Yeah, you can
She's
say,
good at picking that out of your head, like what you're looking
Yeah.
for, because you don't know what you're looking for. And she just has all these questions because she's been doing it
Yeah.
for a long time. She's got all of these little questions that she'll ask you, so she can help you figure out what you're kind of thinking. Because a lot of times people don't know what they're thinking. They're like, "Oh, that kind of does make sense." When they pick through and they go, "Okay, this is what I'm hearing from you," and they're like, "Oh, that does make sense about where I want to go."
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, that helps. Thank you.
Oh, absolutely.
There was a question in the chat. Where are your office located if we can meet you in person?
Oh, okay. So we have our Bloomington corporate office. We have our Arden Hills office on Pine Tree Drive. We've got our Woodbury office down in Beelenberg. And we did have a Coon Rapids office, but we decided we didn't want to pay $8,000 a month for a lease anymore.
Whoa.
So
They really, there was
for
kind of an
big
issue
space.
with the
So we're going to find a new space.
issue with the renewal of the lease. They were jacking it up like 25%. So
Yeah.
they're still looking for a permanent spot,
Yeah.
but they're just trying to figure out which way they want to go. But we do have a closing spot up there that we can still close in the Coon Rapids area, and we work with the Regis system of office suites. So there's like 14 different spots. One I use all the time is Carlson Towers. There's one in Maple Grove. They're kind of all over the place. But if you want like to meet, like I'm at the Bloomington office. Kathy kind of floats around, but she's at the Bloomington office a lot. But we can certainly meet you at wherever you would like to. We don't even need to meet at an office. We'll come to you. We'll go have some coffee or whatever you'd like to do.
Yeah, but for the Beverly Carter thing too, we could either do it Zoom or we could do it at a venue, and then I could cater in some lunch and we could have an in-person one, and we could pick pretty much whatever area of the metro that your office would like us to try to find a spot. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think we're going to definitely have a conversation about that and talk to Randy and see if we can get something set up here, because I think that would be good to touch on. But, you know, we had such a good turnout on our last lunch and learn with you guys. So
that was great. We had like 40 people there.
We really did.
Yep.
So
yeah, we need to do that again for sure. We just got to figure out when a good time is, and I'm not sure if June or July is really a good time. And
right,
yes.
Yeah. Fortunately, everybody's super busy right now, right?
Yes. Which is a good thing. Perfect.
Keep in mind, we can close anywhere. So like, even though that Coon Rapids office is closed, we can close anywhere. Our
Yep.
escrow teams go anywhere that you need them to. So never let
Yeah,
that hinder you.
we do have a really nice office suite area right up in the Coon Rapids area that we're going to use until we figure out kind of what they want to, where they want to go. Because that definitely that space that we were in was not worth the 25%
No.
increase. so they're like, no, yeah, we'll just fall back and regroup and then figure it out from there.
Perfect. Well, all right. I want to thank you guys so much for your time. If you have any questions, we will put contact information in the Energy Facebook Connect page. So definitely check that out. Again, really good resources just to use. I would let you guys know next week we have Tuesday call is with one of our realtors. Marge Weir is going to be coming on and talking to us about staging and virtual staging, because that is definitely a thing. And then the following week, Randy will be on because we have some new forms coming out that he just got access to, and we're kind of sifting through them. So again, we've got a lot of changes coming up, but that is something that's really, really important that we need to speak about. So watch for that. Thank you guys so much for your time. As always, I appreciate it. But again, I just want everybody to know they can reach out to Stewart Title with any questions. But go out, do amazing things this week, and any questions, reach out to them.
Awesome. Thanks for the invite, Jill.
Thank you.
Thank you
Appreciate
guys.
you.
Take care, everybody.
Bye,
Thank you.
guys.
Bye.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much. Have a great day.
You too.
Bye
You
now.
too.